Imagine waking up to a raven-sized fly crashing against your window while your house trembles as a gigantic spider crawls across your lawn. It all seems like a nightmare, but that's exactly what the world looked like 250 million years ago, even before the first dinosaurs appeared. However, if you don't suffer from arachnophobia and love extreme experiences, you'll soon have the opportunity to travel back to the era of colossal beetles. In 2023, futurologists compiled a report promising that time safaris would be available to people in less than 50 years. With the help of sensors and virtual reality goggles, tourists will be able to travel to any period of the past or future. But even now, there are indications we might find ourselves in a world of enormous insects much sooner. And not just in virtual reality. Could insects actually become gigantic again? What I know for sure is that Earth itself can shrink down to a miniature version and sit right on your desk, especially for space enthusiasts and science lovers. Mova Globes has created super realistic models of planets, moons, and asteroids with over 40 designs featuring graphics straight from NASA. And guess what? These models spin. No batteries or power cords needed. Mova Globes move by harnessing Earth's magnetic field thanks to tiny hidden magnets inside. Even dim light is enough to activate them. No more dead batteries to dispose of or tangled cords to deal with. I just placed my globe in a bright room and it runs smoothly all on its own. If you use my promo code Ridddle10 when ordering from movaglobes.com, you'll get 10% off models in 2 sizes. All the details are in the video description. Now, let's zoom in on some bugs. During the Carboniferous period about 300 million years ago, insects were larger than ever in the history of our planet. During this period, the air was hot and humid, and Earth was covered in swampy tropical forests towering 30 meters high. The abundance of trees and plants released so much oxygen into the air that its atmospheric concentration rose to 30%. Scientists speculate that this increase in oxygen levels allowed insects and other arthropods to grow exceptionally large. You see, insects don't have lungs like humans or other terrestrial vertebrates. Instead, they rely on a network of specialized tubes located throughout their bodies called tracheae. When insects increase in size, they require more oxygen. However, the problem lies in the fact that their tracheae do not grow. They remain the same size throughout their life cycle. Hence, the higher the oxygen content in the atmosphere, the more it can be absorbed through their tracheae. This means insects can grow to enormous proportions. Currently, the oxygen content in the atmosphere stands at nearly 21%. Until this value increases, we don't have to worry about the return of giant beetles. Of course, unless there are other factors that could trigger their growth. But how much did the sizes of prehistoric insects differ from their modern counterparts? This is Meganeuromoniae. It was the most giant flying predatory insect of the Carboniferous period. This creature, resembling a dragonfly, had a wingspan of up to 75 centimeters and inhabited the territory of modern Europe. Like modern dragonflies, Meganeuromoniae possessed exceptional visual acuity, enabling it to spot prey from a distance. Being the size of a large sheepdog, this dragonfly fed not only on other insects, but even on amphibians. Its legs were covered in spikes, allowing it to snatch its prey in midair. Meganeuromoniae had a pair of powerful appendages with large, sharp teeth near its mouth, with which it would instantly decapitate its catch. Just imagine what would have happened if this monster had caught a human in its grasp. To avoid becoming a meal for such dragonflies and other predators, insects had to become increasingly larger. Take, for example, Mesothyros enormis. This gigantic flying insect inhabited North America 309 million years ago. Mesothyros had a wingspan of 56 centimeters and a body length exceeding 1 meter. Fragments of its remains were found in the fossil beds of Mazon Creek located in the state of Illinois. Researchers believe this insect was herbivorous, feeding on plant juices. Its mouth resembled a sharp beak, which enabled arthropods to pierce stems and suck out their nutritious sap. Such a gigantic insect simply deterred predators with its size alone. Even Meganeuromoniae wouldn't have been a match for this species. It's quite possible that arthropods of the Carboniferous period grew to immense proportions to avoid becoming prey for the numerous amphibians and reptiles that inhabited the land. This endless cycle of competition and survival compelled creatures to keep growing larger. But who was the largest of them all? Meet the giant millipede arthropods. It's considered one of the largest invertebrates ever to live on Earth. A fossil fragment of this creature was found in the United Kingdom. Researchers estimated its length to be approximately 2.5 meters. That's comparable to the size of a small car. Initially, scientists believed this millipede was a predator, and its powerful jaws were meant for cutting prey. However, new research has debunked this theory. Fossilized gut contents of the insect revealed exclusively plant material. Apparently, arthropods led an entirely vegetarian lifestyle, and although it's herbivorous, you certainly wouldn't be delighted to see something like that on your bathroom wall. But 250 million years ago, there lived a predator on Earth feared even by the giant millipede. I'm talking about the scorpion. Modern representatives of this species don't exactly evoke feelings of awe and adoration either. Now, I want you to imagine a scorpion measuring a staggering 3 meters in length. It's one of the largest predators that lived in the ocean during the Carboniferous period, top tier of the marine food chain. In the modern world, it could be compared to a 5-meter-long white shark, the largest underwater predator on our planet. Fossil remains of this prehistoric scorpion were discovered in Australia. Initially, scientists mistook it for a spider. They even gave it the name Megarachne. They just couldn't believe this enormous insect could have once been a scorpion. Since then, paleontologists have found several more fossil fragments of Echolopterus and concluded that the initial specimen only included half of the body without the tail. This is why the creature was mistaken for a spider. Today, Professor Bo Wang from the Nanjing Institute of Geology and Paleontology, Chinese Academy of Sciences, asserts that the giant scorpion is the largest of all arthropods in history. Another researcher of marine monsters, Andrew Wendra from Otterbein University. This means that no predator could seriously harm them 250 million years ago. Even in the modern world, the giant scorpion would have no natural enemies. We are lucky that these monsters didn't survive to the present day. Or did they? In fact, giant arthropods can still be found today. However, they are found underwater. One example is the Japanese spider crab, the largest living arthropod. It has 10 legs, their lengths reaching up to 2 meters. The weight of such a spider crab is 20 kilograms, and its lifespan exceeds 100 years. It dwells in cracks and crevices at a depth of 300 to 400 meters and can withstand relatively low temperatures, as low as 10 degrees Celsius. And it's not called a spider crab for nothing. It shares a common ancestor with this arthropod that lived on Earth 450 million years ago. According to research, during the course of evolution, spiders had to adapt to climate changes and reduce in size, unlike the spider crab. After all, maintaining such gigantic dimensions was only possible in the water. On land, the organs of large creatures would simply be crushed by the weight of their bodies. Additionally, moving in water is much easier for large-size organisms. For instance, a modern representative of giant arthropods, the American lobster, appears slow and clumsy when taken out of the water. However, it's pretty fast and agile as long as it's on the ocean floor. The largest specimens of this species that have been caught were around 1 meter long and weighed over 22 kilograms. That's why these lobsters are considered the heaviest arthropods in the world. While the spider crab and American lobster inhabit the ocean floor and have minimal contact with humans, their relative, the coconut crab, has come much closer to us. Like its prehistoric ancestor, the giant scorpion, it possesses 2 sets of respiratory organs, gills for breathing underwater and lungs for staying on land. It can reach up to 1 meter in length and weigh 4 kilograms. This crab feeds solely on tropical fruit and carrion. However, its claws are strong and developed enough to easily sever a human finger. So there's no need to disturb this clawed creature unnecessarily. But the coconut crab may not be the only giant arthropod on land. In the near future, familiar insects could once again become gigantic. Scientists claim this will happen in the coming decades, and the blame lies with birds. According to National Geographic, over 1,200 species of birds are currently facing the threat of extinction, and they could completely disappear from the face of the earth within the next 100 years. And that would be a real catastrophe for us. Without predators, insects will uncontrollably reproduce and proliferate. Birds worldwide consume up to 500 million tons of beetles per year. Experts estimate that a single swallow can devour up to 2,000 cicadas daily, and the Baltimore oriole can consume nearly 17 caterpillars in just 60 seconds. If birds go extinct, our cities will be overrun by termite swarms, and hordes of locusts will decimate entire forests. What about impenetrable jungles made of spider webs? But does this mean giant insects will take over the entire planet? And what will our world look like in such a scenario? A nocturnal lifestyle, concrete floors and windows protected by thick bars. All of these could become a reality if giant beetles occupy the planet. Even seemingly harmless insects can pose a danger to humans. Take ants, for example. What can such tiny creatures do? Well, this female Dinosaurs ant can grow to only 4 centimeters in length. According to the World Atlas, they are some of the largest ants in the world. However, if they were to increase in size, Dinosaurs ants have the potential to rival their prehistoric ancestors, the giant Titanomyrma ants that lived 50 million years ago. Based on the fossils found by scientists, the queens of this species reached nearly 7 centimeters in length, with a wingspan of about 15 centimeters. Like all ants, this species lived in colonies. They would attack their prey together, spraying formic acid. Their coordinated teamwork allowed them to neutralize animals much larger than themselves. If these monsters were to invade cities, we would need acid-resistant transportation and protective gear. Furthermore, significant reinforcement of buildings would be necessary since the underground tunnels of the ants could trigger structural collapses. But ants are not the greatest threat to humans in a world of gigantic insects. There are even more horrifying relatives among them. Do you hear that loud buzzing resembling the sound of helicopter blades? Seek immediate shelter, especially if you have allergies. Wasps are dangerous even to a healthy individual. Now imagine an entire swarm, with each individual being 8 centimeters long. Such creatures inhabited our Earth 53 million years ago. Just a couple of stings from these giant wasps could be fatal. To protect ourselves from these creatures, we would have to form specialized task forces. They would hunt at night when wasps are less active and destroy their nests before the larvae develop into mature adults. Let's say we managed to deal with the giant wasps, but what about insects whose presence we don't notice until they bite? I'm talking about fleas. If they were the size of their prehistoric ancestor Pseudopolex, we wouldn't step outside without enormous repellent canisters. Even dinosaurs feared this parasite. Pseudopolexes were approximately 10 times larger than the average modern flea. With their long claws, they would crawl over the body of a slumbering dinosaur and settle between its protective scales or plates. And then, the primary weapon came into play, the mouth, which resembled a hypodermic needle. There's a theory that this blood-sucking species disappeared along with the dinosaurs because there simply weren't other equally large creatures for them to feed on. Today, in the event of an invasion by giant fleas, large terrestrial mammals, elephants, rhinos, hippos, and even bears would be at risk. It turns out that ordinary ants, fleas, and wasps can pose a danger to us if they increase in size. But it seems we've forgotten about the true kings of human nightmares, spiders. This is the Goliath bird eater, the most enormous spider in the contemporary world. It weighs about 170 grams, and its leg span is 30 centimeters. But that's not all. The fangs of the Goliath bird eater are sharper and longer than a cheetah's claws. Biting its prey, it injects venom that turns the prey's insides into liquid. Just imagine if such monsters were enlarged to the size of St. Bernards. In prehistoric times, there were indeed spiders that exceeded 1 meter in length. Moreover, there have been reports of encounters with giant spiders even in our era. I'm referring to the legendary Congolese giant spider. It's believed to have first been observed in Uganda in 1890. British missionary Arthur Symes claimed that his expedition stumbled upon enormous spider webs amidst the tropical forest. According to his accounts, they were attacked by spiders larger than 1 meter in size. Among the indigenous peoples of the Congo, there are legends that these massive spider-like creatures weave webs the size of huts. Supposedly, they hunt antelopes, birds, and other jungle inhabitants using these webs. The last reports of these spiders date back to the late 19th century. But perhaps there's no more recent data precisely because there were no survivors after encountering these monsters. Imagine what it would be like if insects across the entire planet increased in size. Humanity would be in a state of constant warfare, fighting for survival. Meanwhile, our weapons would be powerless. After all, the exoskeleton of insects consists of wax, protein fibers, and chitin, making it incredibly resilient. For example, the small beetle Nosoderma diabolicum, thanks to its exoskeleton, can withstand a load that is 39,000 times its own weight. That's like placing 280 double-decker buses on a human being. So, do we stand a chance against these giant insects? In 2018, an international group of scientists presented a prototype of next-generation super-strong body armor. Its design was inspired by the structure of chitin. Researchers 3D printed the scales and placed them on a flexible base. They claim the product is much more effective than modern body armor with metal plates inside. It turns out that to protect ourselves from insects, we'll have to become more like them, clad in impenetrable armor. But if the question of protection is nearly solved, what about weapons? Nowadays, the most common method of insect eradication is repellents. It's logical to assume that to defeat giant beetles, we'll have to develop powerful chemical weapons based on them. However, how safe will they be for humans? The prospect of spending our entire lives in protective suits doesn't seem very appealing. Let's hope that giant centipedes and meter-long spiders are a thing of the past, and we'll see them only in science fiction movies or in our nightmares. But as practice shows, nature can be quite unpredictable. What do you think? Under what circumstances could giant insects return to our world? Share your thoughts in the comments.